It took a few weeks for the lefties to regroup after the election, but it feels like that they're back and they're now starting to assume, all right, we've sooked for long enough, it's now time to start putting activism and running it as lead news stories rather than this thing happened today and it's the most important, so therefore it's the lead news story. Instead, the lead news story on the Channel 2 website has been this for most of the day, which is that if you own a Toyota Hilux, you may well be part of the pollution problem. Remember all of this in the electric car business of the last election? Well, the Conservation Foundation has said, Australia is currently lagging behind the rest of the world on vehicle emissions standards. I think it speaks to a larger problem. We need to improve our standards, improve our testing regimes and make sure the vehicles that are coming into our country are both fuel efficient and are able to protect public health better. Now, I don't know what this person drives, but I'm assuming it's a penny farthing. No emissions at all, but most likely we all know the form of many of those that are the climate activists. They're more than happy to hop around in planes and drive cars from Tasmania all the way to Queensland to make a point about mining. But Gideon, it speaks to a wider thing that you're starting to see the machine that had BS polls, news outlets starting to get back to the pre-election activism to essentially just feed the diet of activism, not what happened today as news.
Yeah, look, absolutely. This is the ABC just become... It's gotten worse and worse over the years in terms of not reflecting the news, but in terms of making the news and pursuing activism. I mean, this story, Paul, is about vehicles between, I think, 2015 and 2019 that were Toyota vehicles that were faulty, that emitted too much carbon monoxide because they were faulty vehicles. Yet they've used it as a pretext to bring all manner of self-proclaimed experts out of the woodwork to lecture us all about how, if you own a Toyota Hilux, you're part of the problem. But as you correctly pointed out, this country, you know, the ABC should be, at least in theory, a public broadcaster for all Australians. This country belongs as much to people who drive a Hilux as it does to some hipster in Brunswick driving their penny farthing around.
Yeah, God forbid. I mean, this is the thing. Look, Scott, this is the point, right? Is that now I understand? Yes, people were very excited today. There you go, rev heads. Porsche put out an electric car. Okay, cool. But we all know that Australia is a whole lot bigger than Luxembourg, where you might be able to run one of these things around when they have electric trucks that are just as reliable, etc., etc. You know all of this stuff. But are you starting to notice that there's been an uptick? I mean, certainly there was, there was the immediate post-election sook. Then they seem to go back into their hole, and now the, turtle's starting to poke out its head again.
Well, Paul, I'm worried I'm going to be hunted down for my Land Rover Defender, which is diesel, so that's going to be hunted down and banned at some stage, I suspect. Look, you're seeing this regrouping. I think what you're talking about there is that they suddenly got the shock of the Sunday of the Saturday night before, and they went quiet. But what you see, I think, for some of these stories, and now this story was about the fact that there is some sort of filter not working on these Hiluxes, and there may be something wrong with them. But it's the extrapolation then from that story onto every other issue. And that's the trouble. And I think what Gideon's talking about there is it's not about reporting the news. It's about the activism that suddenly gets overlaid over the news story. And it's not just on this case. You're seeing it across the board.
Well, and the problem is, Gideon, is that the way that this stuff works, and this will be dismissed as conspiracy theory by those that practice this all day, every day, and kiss the woke ring. But they expect that basically, if they all do it, then eventually there's no other options. Then people will sort of think this is the only type of things that count as news. And those of us who push back, well, you get pushed further and further and further to the margins, because the most dangerous form of diversity is diversity of opinion. And this is the thing. I'm fine for opinion sites to exist, but this is opinion of the Conservation Foundation that is running as news.
Yeah, you're right. And these are the same people who sanctimoniously bleat about how terrible that Sky After Dark is and how terrible columnists like Andrew Bolt and Rita Panahi are. But look, this programming lineup on this channel at night time, and columnists for the Herald Sun and the Australian, all sorts of other things, are open about the fact that they are reflecting opinion. I would much rather somebody who is open about the fact that they are giving their perspective and entertaining and informing via an opinion and being honest about it, than the ABC, which is extremely biased towards the left, but holds himself up as to be this completely impartial defender of democracy and of the objective truth. It is absolute fiction and doublespeak.